Mirror introduced him to Lefty Ruggiero, a hitman who had a reputed 23 killings to his name.
Lefty Ruggiero was what I would call 24-hour gangster. He was on being a gangster every minute of the day.
But Lefty Ruggiero had a trait that was invaluable for Pistone's operation.
He was a great historian as far as knowledge of the Mafia, how it worked and how it would work. And I gained a lot of valuable information from him.
Through Mirror and Ruggiero, Pistone was able to shine a torch on the inner workings of a Mafia family, something that the FBI, until then, had known surprisingly little about.
He could recount to us who was in, who was out. He could recount what rackets they were involved in. He could recount what's coming up in the future. The people he was involved in were particularly vicious. You know, who was going to kill who or who was on the outs.
In 1978, the operation had a major breakthrough. Tony Mirror was jailed for drug trafficking. And Lefty Ruggiero seized an opportunity to cash in on Pistone's skill as a good earner and made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Pistone would operate exclusively under Lefty as his partner. He would now be much more closely involved in Bonanno family business. And critically, Lefty was part of a crew run by one of the most powerful captains in the Bonanno family, Dominic "Sonny Black" Napolitano.
Sonny Black was an effective, important leader, a capo. He had about 15 to 20 members in his crew, about 10 or 12 made guys, and probably at least 20 or 30 other, well, known as associates or wannabes, who hang around and work with the family.
Pistone was now even better placed to gather material on a wide range of Mafia activities.
At this stage, I was gathering a lot of intelligence information, drug deals, extortion, hijacking, political corruption, politicians, law enforcement people that were corrupt. So it was a myriad of information.
But more than that, by working with Lefty, he was able to learn who the major players were in the Bonanno family and other New York families, giving the FBI names of captains and bosses.
I was finding out who the upper echelons, the structure of the family, who was basically running the family. So a lot of it had to do with intelligence information that we didn't know by doing investigations and that we weren't getting from informants. We showed we can go after and get the upper echelon versus, versus the guys on the bottom doing all the dirty work.
Pistone's intelligence was helping the FBI build a much clearer picture of not just how the Bonanno family was run, but the whole Mafia. And what emerged was how much the various Mafia families were in fact cooperating with each other.
You came to realize that this was not a monolithic organization. These folks were working together. They might have been individual families that, for work purposes and for power purposes, but in the scheme of things, they were working together, sharing these criminal activities.
And Pistone's success was not limited to just the Mafia in New York. With his strong credibility, he could now vouch for other undercover agents and instigate connections with other Mafia families, as far away as Los Angeles. In Milwaukee, he was so successful, he even managed to set up a face-to-face meeting with the mob boss there, the first time an FBI agent had sat down with such a high-ranking mobster. In Florida also, the FBI had been attempting to infiltrate the Mafia. They had set up a club, the King's Court, which they had hoped would be a beacon for Florida's mobsters. Pistone saw a way to help the operation by suggesting that Sonny Black become a partner in the club. The idea appealed to Sonny, and he sent Pistone and Lefty to Florida to check it out. Pistone now discovered that, like many city wise guys, Lefty had hardly ever left his New York borough.
Everybody thinks that mob guys are so worldly and they know everything. I mean, they're really parochial, and Lefty was no different. You know, had no idea how to make a plane reservation, you know, because a lot of time, most of the time, when they wanted to go somewhere, the plane tickets were, you know, back in the day before the computers, they were stolen, you know, from travel agents.
When Lefty saw the club, he reported favorably back to Sonny, and Sonny liked what he heard. But to operate in Florida, Sonny Black would still need the permission of the local mafia, headed by Santo Trafficante.
That's when Sonny then starts moving ahead to get a meeting with Trafficante.
Sonny flew to Miami to meet the Florida boss to propose running illegal gambling operations together from the club. Trafficante agreed to the deal. It was a breathtaking achievement for the FBI.
Here we got two major bosses that we married up together to become involved in illegal activities with. I mean, unheard of. So that's, that was a big thing.
The FBI had the back office of the King's Court fully installed with microphones and cameras.
The King's Court was wired for audio and video, but it was only in the office, not the club, because the patrons were regular people who didn't know it was an FBI operation.
Pistone and other undercover agents started to stage drug deals with Mafia mobsters there.
What do you want you at, Tom? I walk in the place in this town.
It was a goldmine of intelligence for the FBI. Pistone was impressing Sonny Black, so much so that Sonny asked him to head up the operation in Florida. But more importantly for the FBI, in another promotion for Pistone, he no longer had to report to Lefty Ruggiero, but would answer directly to Sonny Black. Pistone now had access to one of the most important captains in the New York Mafia. Nothing like this had ever been done before. Pistone's close relationship with Sonny Black now gave him even more access to information within the Mafia. He discovered that one faction of the Bonanno family, recent Sicilian immigrants known as Zips, were enormous drug importers. They used a series of pizza restaurants to distribute the drugs. Based on Pistone's information, the FBI launched a major investigation into the Zips pizza restaurant drug trade. But they couldn't act on it immediately, because if Pistone's identity were revealed to the Mafia, he would be killed instantly.
Every day going to work like that, knowing he could easily be made or betrayed, and his life would have been worthless. And yet he did it for years.
As long as the person's undercover, you can't do anything with that information until they surface, or you jeopardize them.
But in fact, by now, there was a far more serious threat to Pistone's life. Tony Mira, Pistone's first contact in the Mafia, was released from jail and furious that Pistone was earning money from Sonny Black and Lefty. He wanted revenge.
What you have to remember, there's a lot of jealousy and envy in the mob. Mira gets out of jail, and he's jealous because he thinks I'm making a lot of money, and because I'm real close to Sonny Black. So he goes and he goes to his captain and says that I should be with him and not Lefty, because he's the one that brought me around.
But Sonny, keen to keep his cut of Pistone's earnings, was reluctant to pass him back to Mira.
Mira goes to Sonny, and Sonny says no.
Mira then took his complaint a stage further and called for the other capos to arbitrate the decision. Lefty and Sonny were called on to defend their claim on Pistone in a series of meetings. Lefty would phone Pistone after each one to let him know what was happening, and Pistone would secretly record their conversations.
Hey, Donnie, let me tell you something. I had a 4.5-hour meeting about you today.
For what?
Donnie, don't say for what.
Well, Left, you say don't say for what. How do I know? I don't even know what you're talking about.
I won you, and I'm going to keep you.
Well, that's right.
All right? I'm not giving you up, and so is Sonny. We own Donnie, and we giving up Rocky. Now, you give up my prick, I said. I won you. I'm not giving you up. I'll die with you.
Well, how does Sonny stand tonight with us?
What's he stand? He's not giving you up. Not giving you up. Ain't nobody having you.
Hey, I don't want no part of Mira.
Sonny Black and Lefty won and got to keep Pistone as their own. But Mira wasn't finished yet, and in an act of revenge, he would do something that would instantly threaten Pistone's life.
So he figures, well, if I can't have him, nobody's going to have him. So then what Mira does is he puts in the beef with all the captains that I stole $250,000 in the drug deal. And, that's a no-no. You don't steal money from the family.
The severity of the accusations demanded a series of high-level meetings or sit-downs. A sit-down was, in effect, a trial. High-ranking mobsters from the Bonanno family in New York, including some of the Sicilian Zips and Bonannos from far away as Canada, were called in to judge the accusations leveled at Pistone. If Pistone were found guilty, he would be executed immediately.
If you lose a sit-down, you're gonna get killed right then. I mean, it's not like, they're gonna give you, we're gonna give you a month to get your affairs in order.
Rocky admitted that you made $250,000.
Who did Rocky tell you?
Anthony Mirror and his men. Don't you understand?
He's a lying son of...
He's a
lying son of... He's lying, Left.
I don't give a fuck.
He's a liar. I never cut any junk money up with him.
But I don't fucking count.
Why does this guy want to, start...
He wants you bad.
So what do we do now?
I don't give a fuck, but you can't
I ain't
help
afraid
me
of
out.
anybody.
You can't help me out. I have to handle it. Without you.
But I ain't afraid of Mira either. When's this thing all gonna end with this guy?
It ain't gonna end.
Sonny spent 3 hours fighting for Donnie. Eventually, his life was spared.
Sonny Black wins the sit-down.
Pistone may have survived the sit-down, but he had made a serious enemy of Tony Mira. The FBI were concerned the operation was becoming too dangerous and began to consider pulling Pistone out.
They were talking about closing the operation down.
But Pistone thought otherwise and managed to convince his boss, Jules Bonavolonte, to continue just a little while longer.
I convinced Jules there's nothing to worry about, I mean, I can handle this.
In Florida, a Las Vegas night was planned for the King's Court, an illegal gambling evening with craps, roulette wheels, and blackjack. The event was scheduled for January the 17th, 1981. Sonny and a number of New York wise guys had flown down for the event.